everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a really important topic: corruption in the United States. With the elections coming up in 2024, it's more crucial than ever to know what's happening in our state. So let's break down the top 10 most corrupt states in America this year and understand why it matters for us all. Corruption affects our lives every day. It's when government officials misuse their power for personal gain. Think bribery, fraud, and all those shady deals happening in the background. While the U.S. ranks 25th on the Corruption Perception Index, which sounds pretty good, we shouldn't let that fool us. The truth is, corruption can ruin trust in government. And as voters, we need to stay alert. Our democracy thrives when we hold our leaders accountable, and that starts with awareness. Let's jump into the countdown. Kicking things off at number 10 is Kentucky. While it might not be the first state that pops into your head when you think of corruption, we can't forget the high-profile case of former Governor Matt Bevin, who faced multiple controversies during his tenure, including allegations of misconduct tied to state contracts. With a low score of 0.02 on the corruption index, Kentucky officials are trying to improve, but many residents remain worried about their local leaders' accountability. As the election approaches, voters are increasingly skeptical and looking for candidates who promise real transparency and a commitment to ethical governance. At number 9, we have Michigan. This state has been rocked by scandals, particularly the Flint water crisis, where government officials ignored residents' pleas about lead contamination in their water supply. This crisis resulted in significant legal repercussions and several officials facing charges related to misconduct. Citizens are demanding deeper reforms to keep corruption in check. And with the elections coming up, they want to know how candidates plan to prevent such heinous failures in governance from happening again. Coming in at number 8 is Alabama. Corruption in Alabama is closely tied to its troubled prison system, with shocking revelations about inmate treatment. The 2020 lawsuit by the Department of Justice over violations of inmates' rights highlighted how deeply corruption can seep into government operations. This has sparked significant conversations about ethics in not just the correction system, but across all levels of leadership. As people prepare to vote, they're calling for real changes to ensure their leaders act responsibly and transparently. The ongoing discourse around criminal justice reform is at the forefront of voters' minds. At number 7, we have Georgia. Recent political turbulence, including the controversy surrounding voting rights and election integrity, has put Georgia on the national stage. Even with anti-corruption laws in place, many residents feel frustrated by how they're enforced. The state's challenges surrounding its secretive lobbying practices are a cause for concern. With elections nearing, candidates will need to prove how they plan to tackle these systemic issues. Grassroots movements have gained traction, advocating for better accountability from their elected officials. Georgians want meaningful dialogue that addresses these pressing concerns. Number 6 is Tennessee, where corruption outbreaks have hit several municipalities and state agencies. Revelations of cronyism and kickbacks surrounding infrastructure projects have caused public outrage. For instance, the Tennessee Department of Transportation faced scrutiny amidst allegations that contracts were awarded based on favoritism rather than merit. As the elections draw near, citizens are demanding more oversight and accountability from their leaders. Community forums are buzzing with discussions about the importance of ethical governance, and people are tired of the status quo. Making it to the top 10, Virginia has faced corruption issues that have shaken public trust. The recent bribery scandal involving former Governor Bob McDonnell, who was convicted of corruption-related charges, exposed the darker side of political relationships in the state. Despite having laws against it, many citizens feel that officials aren't properly held accountable for their actions. As voters gear up for the elections, they're looking for leaders who will take corruption seriously. The rising costs associated with past scandals have fueled calls for strict reform, and Virginians are ready to push for reform. Number 4 is Louisiana, a state infamous for its history of corruption, which includes the notorious case of former Governor Edwin Edwards, who was convicted of racketeering and conspiracy. The rate of convictions is alarmingly high, showing that corruption is a persistent problem. The state also faces issues with local officials getting caught in scandals involving bribery and misuse of funds, which continue to frustrate citizens. As elections approach, Louisianans are intensifying their demands for stronger measures against corruption. They are ready for a new wave of accountability and reform. At number 3, New Jersey is no stranger to political scandal. From the Bridgegate scandal that ensnared former Governor Chris Christie to ongoing issues with local officials accused of fraud. While the state has a plethora of corruption convictions under its belt, the culture of corruption persists. The infamous case of the convicted Senator Bob Menendez, who faced federal corruption charges, showcases the challenges of accountability in New Jersey politics. As the elections approach, residents are looking for real reform from their leaders to address systemic issues and restore public trust. California faces massive challenges with corruption, particularly highlighted by the ongoing scandal involving powerful political lobbyists and substantial campaign financing issues. This state scores a 34 on the corruption index, reflecting significant ongoing transparency issues that residents want to address. Citizens are rallying for a government that genuinely works for them. With the upcoming elections, candidates will have to propose tangible reforms that resonate with the public's need for accountability and reform. Finally, at the top of the list is New York, a state that has seen a shocking number of over 30 officials convicted in the last decade, indicating a deep-rooted issue in both major political parties. The infamous case of former New York Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver, who was found guilty of federal corruption charges, showcases ongoing problems in both state and city governments. Many New Yorkers are demanding change as they approach the elections, seeing this as a pivotal moment for their future. The urgent calls for reform reflect a collective desire to cleanse the political landscape of corruption and empower a new breed of leaders committed to integrity and transparency. As we wrap up, it's clear that corruption isn't just a political issue. It affects all of us. Tackling this problem requires effort from both officials and citizens alike. As we move toward the elections, it's crucial to stay informed and hold our leaders accountable. If you found this look at the top 10 most corrupt states eye-opening, give that like button a smash and subscribe for more. And share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think corruption is getting worse? What changes do you want to see? Your voice counts. And together, we can demand the accountability our government desperately needs. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.